All right, balance bosses. Welcome, Holly Ann Mitchell.
Hi, Laura.
Hello. Holly is here, and I'm so excited. She is a speaker, a coach, and a hypnotist, and she has something a little special for us to start.
Okay, so this is what I like to do before I go on camera, before I get on a podcast. But usually this is like green room, back of the scenes, behind the scenes. Nobody gets to see this part. But I'm gonna burn a little Palo Santo. Just imagine that you can smell it with me right now.
I love
And the smoke is so lovely. And I'm just sending little blessings to Laura and to everybody who is in this space. May this space be a blessing for you, whatever you need today, and for me too.
Oh, love it. Thank you.
Oh, it smells so nice in here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this space. What an amazing container you've created with this community.
Thank you. Yes, it's full of so many wonderful people that are all curious and interested in how to bring balance to their lives. And so I think it just really goes well with everything that you stand for. And I appreciate you spending some time. I know you are a busy person and have lots coming up. So before we start, I'd like to just introduce who you are in case there's somebody that doesn't know. Okay. All right. So Holly Ann Mitchell is I love this about you. You're a speaker, coach, and a hypnotist, and you really pride yourself on post-traumatic growth. I love that because number one, and we'll get into this, but number one, when we hear post-traumatic, a lot of people think, ooh, and you've switched it. You've turned it into something growth. I love that. So we'll get into that. Yeah. But at the age of 18, she came from Florida to New York City with dreams of Broadway and went from an actress to a homeless person, then to a dental C-suite and a struggling entrepreneur who then kind of reached a case of burnout, right? Turning that into something positive, she turned to hypnosis and NLP and changed her brain and changed her life. And that is amazing. She's the founder and CEO of the LeadWell Network. And she practices mental health first aid with dental practices, helping them be more trauma aware and decrease depression, anxiety, and burnout with simple neuroscience. Awesome. How does that sum it up a little bit? You're also a faculty member at Dental Speakers Institute. You were just at Dentistry's Got Talent. I was lucky enough to hear your speeches live, and you came in a close second place. You were amazing.
Oh, it was so much fun, and I loved getting to hear your talks too. Just that, actually, my favorite part of the whole experience was getting up in the mornings and on the breaks and going out by the pool and rehearsing with friends and giving each other feedback and cheering each other on. Like that was the best part. That was the best part.
That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about how your road to this fascination with the brain and how it works. Tell me a little bit about that, because your story into it is really interesting.
You know, I don't often tell people this part of the reason that I've always been fascinated with the brain. But when I was 19 years old, my father suffered a traumatic brain injury, and he was in a motorcycle accident without a helmet on. And my family's life was changed forever. My father had always struggled with mental illness. He had bipolar disorder, and he suffered from depression as well. And my brother also had his own mental health challenges. And so what I didn't realize when I was growing up was that I was learning how to cope with unhealthy coping mechanisms around me through life stressors. And so, if anyone else like me has been born into the genetic lottery of, not so great mental health, how to regulate your nervous system, combine that with life stressors and the way that we learn how to regulate our nervous system through the people who take care of us and love us. Just one second, Laura, do you hear any feedback or is it just my ears?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect these earpods, if that's okay.
Yep.
The joys of technology.
I know.
Let's
Today Facebook kicked us off during interviews. So fingers.
That's fair. Okay.
Okay. Oh, now I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes, we're in. Okay. So my father, when he had this brain injury, he was in a coma, and we didn't think that he would live. And luckily, he was able to recover, and he wasn't the same. Let's just say that he wasn't the same. So watching him learn how to read and write and walk and talk, feed himself, cook, that began my fascination with the brain, because his personality was changed. He lost all of his humor. My dad was a really funny person. Even though he lost that side of himself, he taught himself how to play the drums again. So it was really interesting to me how certain things were gone, right? Like when he first woke up from his coma, he had lost 15 years of memory. So he forgot that I was an adult. He forgot my sister was, alive. He forgot that his father had passed, that he just lost this huge chunk of his timeline. But what always stayed was music. And so he would remember, like he would hear a song and he would remember where he was the first time he heard that song. He remembered the name of the singer, the name of the drummer. He would say, I was with Steve so-and-so at this bar the first time I heard this song. And it was wild how certain things would stay and certain things were gone. And watching him recover and learning about what was happening in his brain, and learning about my own anxiety and depression in the process kind of led me down the fascination of how do I heal myself? Watching my father go through his own healing journey. How do I heal myself from my own traumas? How do I heal myself? Why do I have trauma and other people don't, given the things that I've been through? So that was really the beginning.
That's so interesting about the music. I think of I've seen reports of people with Alzheimer's who respond to music. Like they don't respond to other things, but when you play music, they remember. And so there's something really special about music.
It's so powerful. I think it goes beyond the body and the nervous system and the brain. I think that there is something that we're tapping into in the human experience that has wisdom beyond our limited bodies and minds.
Right.
At least as a musician, that's what I believe. I believe that when I'm singing or creating music, that I'm really just a vessel for the heart of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's when you receive it, you almost feel that too from somebody that's performing. You feel that. It's very special. When did you realize that you had mental struggles? What age were you when you kind of were like, hey, wait a minute, something's up with my brain?
I always knew that I had struggles.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a child, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have these recurring thoughts that would go on a loop that I couldn't turn off. These obsessive thoughts about what if my parents died? What if I get cancer? Just these awful, awful things. And I would sob and I would pray and try to get them out. And it really disturbed my mother to watch me go through these panic attacks. I would have panic attacks, and I had a severe phobia when I was a child, and I don't really know where it came from. But from the time I was a little girl to the time I saw my hypnotist for the very first time, I had a phobia of vomit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's unpleasant, right? Disgust is a normal human emotion, but this went beyond disgust. This was, I would faint. So if I watched a movie where it happened, or, I couldn't watch medical shows, right? If I never went to college parties because I was afraid that someone would get, too drunk and get sick. And so I kind of navigated my life trying to avoid vomit in any, way that I could. And then when I became older, I was about 30 years old when I went to see a hypnotist, because I started to think about having children at some point, and they vomit a lot.
Yes, they do. You can't be passing out every time there's a little spit up, right?
Oh no, yeah, you can't be fainting while you're trying to burp a baby. Like, this is just not, it's not okay. And so I was like, I think I need to do something about this. So I went to see a hypnotist, and she cured me in one session. And I was like, what did you just do to me? Like, what is this? And she gave me some books on neuroscience and really unlocked the mystery of what was happening in my brain. And I finally understood that actually being anxious, living my life in anxiety, is not something that I have to do. It's something that I was used to, but that I could train my brain, or there were certain ways to not only reduce the likelihood, but often prevent a panic attack or prevent feeling depressed. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had opened a door to a world that I never knew existed for me.
Wow. So you went to the hypnotist specifically for your vomit phobia?
Yes. Well, because she said, what do you want to work through? Like, what's the biggest thing that you would like to remove from your life? And I was like, I want to remove this.
I love it. What was her reaction when you said that? Was it?
Oh, that was her reaction, was like, yep, vomit's gross.
Interesting.
That's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she said, when evolutionarily, right, the disgust from someone else being sick would save your life. Because if somebody ate something that was tainted or a poisonous berry, right, you would need to know, go get away from that. Don't eat that because you need to survive. And so, first she normalized what I was experiencing. And then she said, let's work through this. And she took me through some techniques using EMDR, which is something that they use for post-traumatic stress recovery. And so it's a way to go back to unpleasant memories and neutralize them through eye movement. So if you move your eyes from the left to the right, what you're doing is you're interrupting the pattern of anxiety or panic in the brain, and it can't do the pattern that it's used to. Because your eyes are moving back and forth, you're tricking your brain, and you neutralize the initial trigger. Really, really powerful stuff.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's just knowing that and having that simple tool can be so hopeful for so many people, right?
Yes. So anytime you're feeling stressed out, here's the thing. Stress is just a dance that your brain is doing. It just knows this dance, right? And so all you need to do is interrupt the pattern. So if you can interrupt the pattern, and if you remember the quote that Viktor Frankl said, that it's a space between stimulus and response. Mm-hmm. The space between stimulus and response is the space for choice. Mm-hmm. Because when you're having a stress response or a phobic response, there's no space between stimulus and response. You see the stimulus and you have an immediate response. Right. But if you can interrupt it right at the moment where that response is happening, you create a space. Mm-hmm. And in that space, you can start to rewire your brain for a new habit through repetition and practice. And that's where mental fitness and mental training becomes such a powerful tool for rewiring your own brain. And so if you're in this moment of stress, recognize that all of your resources are going to one hemisphere of the brain, which is where your amygdala is, your lizard brain. So when all of your resources are going to that side of the brain, we just need to redirect your resources. And so if you can move your eyes from left to right, just like in that EMDR pattern, right? Moving your eyes from left to right, you're lighting up different hemispheres of the brain. You can also do it by just grabbing a water bottle and passing it from one side of the body to the other, or going on a walk, or dancing it out. Anything that's gonna allow you to use both hemispheres of the brain is going to interrupt that pattern. And in that moment of interruption, this is what hypnotists do. They interrupt that pattern and they give your brain space. And then they give the embedded command about how you're gonna feel differently next time. Well, that's how you become your own hypnotist. You just interrupt the pattern, create a space, and visualize and tell your brain exactly how you want to feel next. And your brain will respond in the space, because in the space, it's susceptible to whatever suggestion you have in that moment. That's what self-hypnosis is.
And that's maybe like neuroplasticity. We're teaching and creating new neural pathways, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's so encouraging, because I think so many people think they label themselves. I'm anxious, depressed, I'm burnt out, I'm, any of those labels, and they believe that's who they are. And yet you're telling us that we have the ability to change that.
You do, and your words have so much power over your brain. We hypnotize ourselves through language. And so when you say, I am burned out, right? There's no space between that stimulus of the word and the response that your body will make to those words, which is to continue to feel and experience burnout. Because if I am your identity, they're fused together between the words and who you are. But if you can change the words from I am burned out to I am experiencing burnout, or take responsibility, I am burning myself out by imagining this or by doing this. And now you've taken your power back.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What a simple tool. And probably just like exercise, one that the more you use it, the more powerful it becomes, the stronger that muscle becomes, I suppose, right?
Yes. The first book I read on self-hypnosis is a simple book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. I read this book when I was 22 years old, and I was not a morning person, like ever. And I would wake up in the morning, I go, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And I read in this book that I should not say I'm so tired. First of all, first thing in the morning, your brain waves are slower. So you're in almost a trance, that space between sleeping and waking. So if you say I'm tired, your body is going to listen because you just hypnotized yourself. But he said in the book, if the first thing you say when you open your eyes is, I am so ready for what's next, I have all the energy that I need to do exactly what I'm about to do, right? I was like, all right, I'm willing to try anything once. Maybe twice, just for good measure. So I was like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try it. So my alarm would go off and I jumped out of bed and said, I'm up and I'm energized. My neighbors must have thought I was nuts because I did it really loud. And all of a sudden, I started to become a morning person just from the first thing in the morning when my alarm goes off. I'm up and I'm energized. It's crazy, right?
Yes, that is like superhero power, because you could essentially program anything in that moment, couldn't you?
Absolutely can. So if you aren't the kind of person who wants to jump out of your bed first thing when you wake up, well, you know, why not just lay there and visualize your day going successfully?
Mm-hmm.
Think about, here are all the things I get to do today, right? I get to make a delicious cup of coffee. I get to hug my partner or my dog or my children. I get to go into work feeling on top of the world. I get to wear a fantastic outfit and feel like I'm, I've got all the moves and grooves to do whatever I need to do today. And you just visualize all the things you get to do today. Now listen, I'm saying get to do, not have to do.
Right.
All the things you get to do today, because that's a powerful change in your hypnotic language for yourself as well. And it will change. It will tell your brain, your reticular activating system, what to do next. And you're going to be feeling exactly the way you need to feel throughout the rest of the day. That's self-hypnosis.
Oh my gosh. See, so that's where I think a lot of people get confused with hypnosis. Is a lot of what we've experienced is, the self-hypnosis that we see in movies, or maybe you've seen a hypnotist at the bar that makes somebody act like a chicken, right? And so
I have a pocket watch just for photos. I don't use it in real life.
I love it. Good. Yay. But you're telling us a completely different side to it about how powerful it can be used for positive change.
Yes. Hypnosis is really just a state of your brain. And we go in and out of the state ourselves, unassisted, all day long. And so recognizing, how do I practice this state and utilize it? Because self-hypnosis is meditation with an agenda. And so when you're in a state of hypnosis, your brain waves are slower. They're in a state of theta. So most of the time when we're feeling stressed out and we're thinking about all the things we got to do and we're multitasking, our brain is in beta, which is a fast brainwave pattern. If you hook your brain up to an EEG machine, you see it going, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, right? But when we're in a state of alpha, which is the next state, it's also known as flow state. This is a state where you're feeling both relaxed and energized, focused awareness. And we go into this zone when we're in our flow. It might be when you're meditating or cooking or playing music, or just when time kind of disappears and you feel like yourself. That's a great optimal state for performance. But then we want to do that. That's a great state to put yourself in also for regulating your nervous system, which is why meditation is so helpful, because it takes you back to feeling like you get the best parts of your brain online so that you can perform. But if you really want to make changes, you need to be in that much slower brainwave pattern, which is theta. It's a little bit deeper than meditation. It's a little bit slower than meditation. And that's when your brain is super open to suggestion. Now, here's a really fascinating fact about theta sleep.
Yeah.
Children ages 0 to 7 are in theta sleep 100% of the time.
Ugh.
They are in a constant state of trance, and they are open to everything that they see, feel, and experience as a direct command right into their unconscious mind, telling them how to be and what to do.
That's beautiful. It makes me think back to my childhood, and just, you had no perception of time. You almost had no perception of self. And it was a beautiful time of life, wasn't it? It was just like,
And in that childlike state of curiosity, that's where we can meet ourselves and make friends with our neuroses.
yes.
And get to know what they need.
Oh.
Because behind every bad habit is a positive intention. And that intention is usually to keep you safe.
Yeah. Isn't that true? And like you said, that is your friend. That is your, almost, if you want to say, your higher being, your soul, your person trying to keep you protected.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, the intention to keep you safe is really important. You know, that part of you is looking out for you. And so when you go into a state of hypnosis, whether you're doing it for yourself or it's guided by somebody like me, we just need to talk to that part and find a new way to get its needs met. Because the need never goes away. Our needs for significance, our needs for respect, for love, for safety, those are part of the human experience. And so rather than being angry at those parts, we can go in, we can remind them that we are safe now and that we're here to help them. And how else can I get this need met? How else can I feel safe? How else can I feel love? And make a choice for a new pattern.
That's so powerful. So when you learned this, before you learned this, what was it like for you? What was hypnosis like for you before you learned how to hypnotize? And how would it be for someone who was first experiencing it?
Oh, my first time into trance was so beautiful. It's like dreaming, but you're aware that the dream is happening.
Okay.
So there are things called trance phenomena, and a lot of people who've been in states of hypnosis have reported different sensations, like loss of time. Things could feel like they took a year, like in a dream, or 3 seconds, and it's gone by just like that. So time tends to lose, just become lost in that space. Some people experience a physical sensation of heaviness. Some people feel like they're floating. Anything that's possible in a dream, you could experience in hypnosis. Like even the feeling that your body is heavy and that you can't move it, or that you're flying. It's really wild. I find it a really great place to work through any decisions I have to make, anything I want to work through creatively. And even as a songwriter, I often put myself in a state of trance to go and find unconscious pieces of material that I might need to use for the music and for lyrics.
That's cool. That's amazing. I love that. I love that it's just open and different probably every time as well.
Just like dreams, different every time.
Has
Your
anything
unconscious speaks to you in the language of the body, which is sensation. And so anytime your body is talking to you, my body starts with a whisper. Might be a tummy ache or a little bit of back pain or neck pain, right? It's saying like, I have a message for you. Slow down. And then when I go, shh, body, I'm busy, right? I've got an agenda today. Then the body will sometimes shout. And that might look like fatigue or lack of motivation, or getting sick, right? However my body chooses to shout at me. And that really is the unconscious. The unconscious lives in the body, and your memory lives in your body as well. Your body holds so much. So it also speaks in the language of imagery. So whenever we do visualizations, we're speaking directly to the unconscious, Theta Sleep, programmable part of the brain. And that's why guided meditation and visual imagery on a daily basis can be really, really transformational in you achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. And athletes know this.
Mm-hmm.
Professional athletes know this. They go through the game. They go through every moment, every movement inside of their head, so that when they're in the moment, their brain, their unconscious brain knows exactly what to do. They don't even have the effort. It just flows.
It's really interesting how this has opened you up to being more in tune with your body and realizing that those little things are messages from our body, from us, telling us things. I think a lot of people don't even put those two things together. They just think of a headache as a headache and a backache as a backache. And to think of it as being aware of your body talking to you is really the first step of being able to create a different life, really.
Yeah. And it changes the relationship that you have when your body isn't performing the way that you want it to, right? I have many clients that I've worked with weight loss, for example. Mm-hmm. And we have a relationship with their body that's them against their body, right? Body, why aren't you losing the weight that, I'm working at, I'm dieting, why aren't you listening to me? And when you can go into a state of trance, into that state of curiosity and of compassion for the body, and ask your unconscious, what is it that you need? Sometimes that weight is really just trying to protect you and keep you safe. And so if you can go into the past and heal and work through and change your memory, right? And they call it reconsolidated memory therapy, reconsolidated memory hypnosis. You can go into the past and be your own advocate for a trauma that might have happened in that moment, and say all the things to younger you that you wish you knew then, or give you a gift then and allow you to grow up with love and protection from your older self. Integrating these parts of us, having compassion for the pieces of us that seem to hold us back, that have a need that's crying out to be met. Mm-hmm. This is what that healing journey is all about, so that we can be more of who we truly are.
That's beautiful. And so what's really neat about this is, since you've gone through this yourself and you've learned how to do this, you offer this for other people.
Yes.
And Holly has something special for everybody. She has her first session in Try Self-Hypnosis Yourself of her course, free for everybody to try.
I love teaching people how to hypnotize themselves, right? Like, it's great if you want to work with me as your hypnotist, that's awesome. But I'd rather teach you how to do it for yourself, so that anytime you need it, right, you're there and you can give yourself those tools and techniques to change the way you're feeling or change any habit that you want to break.
Well, and not only that, but it's like the gift that keeps giving, because if you learn how to do it yourself, you can teach this to your kids. You can teach this to a best friend. You can teach this to, I suppose, when you go into dental offices, you can teach them some of these skills that they can utilize for themselves and their patients. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. You never know who's going to walk through your door that has a crisis, right? And just being able to teach the patient how to regulate their own nervous system without the need for sedation is such a powerful tool that will benefit them greatly. And for anybody, for any reason, if you're dealing with anxiety or you're dealing with depression, how do you get your nervous system out of that pattern and get back into the zone and into your flow? You can feel more.
That's so powerful. So this course, what would somebody expect? if they went through this course? I mean, do they need to be in a quiet place? Do they need to, what is the course like? Tell us a little bit.
I wouldn't recommend driving in a car.
That's a good point. Thank you.
While you're being hypnotized.
So it's not like an audiobook. You can't just
don't take it on the road.
Thank you for that.
The course is a combination of video modules, worksheets that you can do your own journaling through, your unconscious, and audio trances that you can listen to, where I'll guide you into a deep meditation, deep meditative state, and you can be your own hypnotist and visualize whatever changes you want. It was really fun to make. I like to make this work approachable and practical, right? Because I think hypnosis has this kind of stigma because it's so mysterious for people, and they think of like mind control. But this is really you taking control of your future, your past, and your present, right? You are the hypnotist. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis, whether it's facilitated or self-led, because you're the one making the images in your mind. You're using the language that is programming your nervous system.
Oh my gosh.
Never underestimate how powerful you are. How powerful you are to change your own mind and change your own life.
That is a very big power. And I think that the most successful people have figured that out. And that is why they are so successful, right? And so we should take clues from that this is something that we all have at our fingertips, right?
Yes.
I love that. So the website is going down below, but I'll make sure and put that in the show notes. But go visit tryselfhypnosis.com. And then tell us, you have a book coming out.
Yes, my first book.
Right? September?
Yes, September 1st is the release date. And this is the book, Try Self-Hypnosis. So we have the online course, but this will be the book as well. And it's going to come with a lot of audio downloads to listen to, different experiences for different reasons. I'm so excited about this book. It was so fun to write. And I brought my own stories and different pieces of my life that led me to this work in it. So it was very cathartic to write as well.
Yeah.
But when I think about whoever's reading it, I feel like I'm giving them a big.
Oh, I love that.
If you want to pre-order the book, it will be available for pre-order soon. So you can add yourself to my mailing list, tryselfhypnosis.com, or on my website, hollyannmitchell.com, and I'll be sure to let you know as soon as it's available to order.
Excellent. Thank you. That's exciting. So many fun things to help people. And that leads me to my next question. You are going on a creative sabbatical starting in a couple of days.
Yes. I told you, I feel like a senior in high school who's waiting for graduation.
We are so lucky here to have brought you in before your creative sabbatical. So thank you again for taking the time to do this. But tell us a little bit of how you came to the thought of taking a creative sabbatical and what you hope to achieve on your creative sabbatical.
I'm so grateful you asked, because you had a big role in inspiring this to happen. It was a combination of a book that I was reading called Making Money is Running a Business.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is by Chuck Blakeman, and he talks about running on a treadmill all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was the most financially successful year of my life. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the work that it took. But it took everything I had to make that possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that if I kept going at that rate, that there wouldn't be anything left of me to continue to give to other people. And so I was reading the book, and then I heard you say, burnout happens when you veer from your true why. And it was like an arrow to my heart. And I was like, okay, I'm listening. Wait, I'm listening. I'm the kind of person that if you hear something more than once, that is the universe saying, right? First it's a whisper, and it's like a, hey, wake up! Knock, knock. Time to change. And so I'm calling this partial creative sabbatical a cocoon for me. And so for the next 4 months, I have cleared out 50% of my calendar. Yes.
Good for you. Oh.
And I'll be focusing on resting, rejuvenation, creativity, spiritual renewals, and self-development work, and reimagining my business so that it's in deep alignment with my creativity. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I congratulate you and commend you on the courage to do that, because it can definitely go against everything that society tells us is success. And I'm sorry, my dog is barking if you can hear her. There must be a squirrel.
Or she's sending you a message.
Yes, exactly. Oh, but that's courageous. That's really courageous to do that. And so I'd like you to revel in your courage there. That's because a lot of people maybe feel that same calling.
Yeah.
But there's so many outside pressures that sometimes tell us that it's not a normal thing to do, to listen to that.
Well, I'll give you a little hypnosis tip.
Okay.
That you can use on yourself. Find a little space in your calendar. Doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you take yourself out to breakfast and turn your phone off and bring a journal with you. And take a look at your life as it is now and ask yourself, if nothing changes and I fast forward a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what happens? And go ahead and write the response. And how do you feel about that? When I looked at my life in the beginning of this year, with all the momentum and the possibilities and opportunities that were knocking on my door, and I felt in my body how it felt to be on the edge of coming out. Because here's the thing about passionate people. We all have a flame inside of us. And that flame can do so much because there's this urgency to give and create, to experience the fullness of life. And that is such a beautiful gift to have that flame. The flame can also consume you if the fire goes out of control. And so recognize when the fire is burning too hot and do whatever you need to do to tend that flame and to keep it contained so that you can channel all of the energy into what is good for you first. Because what is best for you is best for everyone around you. And they will get more of you, more of the best of you if you can tend that flame. And so that's a little hypnosis session that I do with myself regularly. Is I just go forward on my timeline and I reflect. And I didn't like what I saw. And so I decided to make a change and take a pause and interrupt my pattern of business, create space so that I can create something new inside of that space to give to others.
That's beautiful. I love how that little description and the visual of your hands together, creating the space, can work on a micro level and a macro level. And if anybody gets just that little visual from today's interview, that could really change your life.
Just the space.
I love it. All right. So one more thing. Well, gosh, we could talk forever. I feel like you have so much. So definitely follow Holly Ann, subscribe to her email list. She's on Instagram too. Here's her Instagram. She's got a single coming out. So you're making music.
Yes. And the song that's about to come out is about my relationship with my anxiety. So I'm really excited about it.
I love it. Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
It's going to be good. I'm excited.
This is a big creative piece of you that you had kind of not let out for a while. And now do you just feel like it's just flowing like crazy from you now that you're allowing it?
Yes. And you're right. I didn't sing for almost a decade. Because when I walked away from my career as a performer, my heart was so broken. And I had to do to survive. And every time I sang, it just wounded me. And so I shut that door in my heart, shut that piece of my brain off. And coming home to music, and it was my father who really inspired it. My father was a drummer, and after he passed, I wrote him a song to honor his life. And the song is called Leading, which was my dad's nickname for me.
Oh.
And also I have it tattooed on my ribcage because my dad's always on my side. So that was the song that really opened my heart again and opened that part of me. And now I can't imagine my life without music. And if I go too many days without it, I'm a little irritated. I'm a little grumpy, right?
You're getting whispers.
And I'm getting the whispers. Those are the whispers. When you listen to the email and you're like, right? And then you're like, wait a second. That's a whisper, right? That's not me. That's my lizard brain talking. I need to get out a pen. I need to go for a walk and I need to write a song. I need to reconnect to who I am.
Oh, I'm so excited for that single. Congratulations. That is fun. So fun. So, and then can we talk about the upcoming summit?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. So when I went to Jumpstart in January of this year, which is where I met Laura, Vanessa Emerson's conference, Jumpstart, is just an incredible resource and community for speakers, coaches, and consultants in the dental industry.
Yep.
When I was there were so many people who were passionate and advocating for mental health in the dental industry. And I hear a lot of talk about, the golden age of dentistry is gone. And, but now there's this technology age and this platinum age of dentistry, and dentistry is back. But I really believe the next age of dentistry, let's call it the crystal age. Because I believe that there's a generation of dentists graduating from school right now who are firmly believing in advocating for their own well-being and the well-being of their team and patients at the same time.
Yes.
And that is the next age of dentistry. It's people who take lunch breaks. It's people who rest on the weekends and turn their phone off because they know that that's how they can have more joy and more to give, and they can have a greater impact when more of themselves are online. So that's what I think is coming next in dentistry. And at Jumpstart, I got to meet a lot of advocates and mental health professionals who believe in this mission of well-being, of mental wellness for our industry. No more burnout. So I just wanted to be friends with them because they were so magical and amazing. So I just emailed them all and was like, hey, let's all get on a call and do something. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it. And so we got together and we decided to create a summit for mental health for the dental industry. And we've been calling ourselves the Mental Health Avengers. And I'm so excited to create this space. So the conference is going to be September 16 to 20. And we're going to have a Facebook group soon and a registration page soon. So if you or your team or your patients or your family members need mental health tips, tools, resources for, and this is a wide variety of mental health, right? Like prevention, but also what do we do when we have a crisis in our office or in our home with our family? And I think that bringing this conversation home, not just for us as dental professionals or auxiliary professionals, but bringing it home to the people that we love and having those conversations with our spouse, our kids, our friends, our families, and knowing how to support them. We can be the people in their life and take better care of ourselves so that our industry can evolve.
Yes. Oh, so exciting. That is such a wonderful vision. I love how organically it was birthed, just out of a desire to be together, community, which, mental health, a lot of people feel alone. So bringing community to it is a beautiful thing. And I love the crystal age of dentistry. That is beautiful too. Like, just let's shift the paradigm, not just in how we take care of teeth, but how we take care of the whole person, the provider, the patient, the family.
What if when we look back on dentistry for the last, 20 years, if we think about dentists who practice without gloves, right? And we're like, oh my God, like, can you believe they used to do that? That's going to be the dentist who worked 70 hours a week, the dental assistant who never took lunch. Right? We're going to look back on those stories and we're going to go, oh my gosh, remember we used to do that?
Right. Oh, what a vision. That is a great vision. Because ultimately, we will take better care of everybody else when we have been taken care of, just like you said earlier. So
yeah, talk about solving the turnover problem too. Let's keep people in our practices and in our industry. Keep them from doing that.
Right. And so I know one of the things you love to say is mental health should be like our CPR and first aid training. Yes. We should be doing it on a regular basis.
Absolutely, because it's more often than not, there's somebody who's going to walk through your door or yourself who's going to end up with a moment of grief or panic or depression or suicidal thoughts. And don't we need tools? We are healthcare professionals. Don't we need tools to advocate for the health of ourselves and everyone around us?
Yes. Yes. And the more you, just like exercise, the more you practice it, the more it becomes second nature in your head, just like CPR, because we've done it how many times? We've practiced for that moment. And so fantastic. Well, I've kept you here a lot longer than we thought we would go, but
it's so fun. That's why.
Oh my gosh.
And time went like this, right? I was in a trance.
You were in a trance. You hypnotized us, didn't you? Just a little bit. Oh, well, please, everyone, find Holly on Instagram, hollyannmitchell.com, right, for your website, or take her free first part of her Try Self-Hypnosis and then sign up for the course, because everyone could benefit from this in your life, not just you. And we will look forward to your book and your single coming up and the summit as well. Thank you for blessing us with your beautiful light. Yeah. Yes. And blessing us with your Palo this before we started. That was a fun way to start. I'm excited to see your butterfly emerge after your sabbatical.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Enjoy, and thank you so much. Anything else before we sign off that I didn't touch on, or that you want to make sure our balance bosses hear?
I think for our balance bosses, prioritizing joy. No one should go a day without joy in their life. In your life, and everyone that you touch will be better for it. Don't go a day without joy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, this has been a joy. So check that list off today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly Ann. Goodbye, everyone. Remember, you're the CEO of your life. Become the boss of your balance. Cheers.